All right, it looks like most of our channels are up and running, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. If you're still arriving and figuring out the chat, feel free to put something in the chat. Hey, Sora, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Wow, I am so excited to be here. Hi, welcome to our live stream today. This is Leanne Mallory, CEO and founder of Guts and Grace Leadership. For those who don't know me well, I am an executive coach. I'm the creator of the Guts and Grace Women's Professional Coaching Program, author of a book by the same name, Guts and Grace, A Woman's Guide to Full-Bodied Leadership. I'm a teacher, an artist, a healer, and a guide for the secretly spiritual professional woman who is committed to making a big change in her industry, her organization, or her community, and knows that she needs to do that without burning out. So in summary, in my work, I help women step into and tap into the wisdom of their bodies to support them to make choices and decisions at work so that they and their organizations can truly thrive. And I would say really operate on purpose. There's something about listening deeply and being plugged into ourselves that makes a difference not only in our resilience, but really in terms of the kind of impact that we can make and that we choose to and want to make. So since this is the first live that we're doing in a long time, and the first one we're doing on this week of live events over the course of this week, we're going to do 5 of these. If you don't know me super well yet, I just want to share a couple of things to give you a little about my background, and then we'll dive into our topic for today. So in really brief, I've been doing this work of women's leadership training with an embodiment lens for about 17 years. I started my career in about 2006. I took my first job as a very young executive coach at a boutique training and coaching firm in Northern California. And at the time, what we were doing was really transformational mindset work and working on the unraveling of and the making sense of the egos that drive us as leaders in a business mostly context. And I was about 26. My clients were anywhere from usually kind of mid-30s to mid-60s. In some way, I was way out of my depth. But what I was really good at, and when I came in with a lot of training and a lot of intuition about, was what makes us tick from the inside out. So I would say to my clients at the time, I don't understand your business. I can't pretend to have experience in your industry, but I know how you get in your own way, and I can help you figure that out, and I can help you make a change around that. And it was going really well. What was interesting about my work at that time is because I was one of the youngest people on our team as a collective of coaches and consultants. I was often tasked with coaching the youngest or the least senior person on the leadership team that we were working with. And what that amounted to was often I was coaching the only woman on the team, the only person of color on the team, the only fill in the blank. Because as it is in the corporate world, especially 17 years ago, it was often the case that those were the folks who had less senior titles or who hadn't been promoted fully to executive leadership. So I really got to get under the hood of what makes us tick and how we're struggling and grappling to get ahead if we have these things kind of working against us in terms of our identities in the workplace. Our clients were corporate, we're government, we're nonprofit, and actually we're also military. Which didn't totally align with my values at the time, but it was the job that I could find, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to get a lot of experience in a really short time with people who were doing work that in some ways I would have never got to see under the hood at that age. And our core program was a year-long leadership development program that was 25 days of training, 360 feedback 3 times over the course of a year. It was interview-based, so we would deliver that feedback to our clients over a course of hours and hours of conversations on the phone back then. And it was also really executive coaching for an entire year. So we would talk to our clients about once a week or once every other week over the course of a year. So I got to go on long journeys of change with my clients at that time. And it would often be anywhere from 1 to 3 years that we would work with a group, with an organization, or with an individual. So this, I think, really set me up well to see how people can evolve, grow, shift, and change and make a bigger impact in their leadership over time, and what gets in their way of doing that, especially in this case from a mindset perspective. But what I found was there was something kind of missing, and what that turned out to be was the body. So around 2007, things got even juicier in my line of work, and it really helped me to build the work I do in Guts and Grace. And what changed was that I had 2 kind of chance encounters, quote unquote chance. I don't think anything is by accident. And one was with Richard Strozzi Heckler, who's the founder of the Strozzi Institute Embodied Leadership School, which is a curriculum that is a leadership curriculum based on both deep psychology as well as martial arts and really a deep listening to the body. And I also met, if you will, a practice called Nia technique, which is a fusion fitness technique that was an early adopter of this kind of more like movement for the sake of healing, not just movement for the sake of getting fit. Back in the early 80s, I came across both of these technologies, and I started to realize that actually the body played a huge role and was really missing in terms of what we were talking about, in particular in, again, the corporate, government, nonprofit leadership spaces. It was like everything was about the head, and we were missing everything happening from the neck down. So when I started bringing these technologies to my clients back in the other work that I was doing, their results just started to go off the charts. And I was like, oh, I think we found the key to something here. So this is how the Guts and Grace curriculum was born. I started to bring this work together while I was still working at my old job and began to build the curriculum that's now called Guts and Grace, which is really a unique embodied leadership curriculum that's designed to help women dissolve glass ceilings, because it takes way too much effort to shatter them, in my opinion, and also to what I call dismantle the patriarchy within. I'll say that again, to dismantle the patriarchy within. So what does that mean? It feels like it's a big claim. It's also the patriarchy, it's a big word. Really what I mean by that is that over the course of our early careers, if we especially are growing up or working in contexts that were predominantly male dominated, or maybe they're not now, but originally they were built by men who were the ones who built the industry in the first place, that we've taken on certain kinds of behaviors, mindsets, ways of being and doing, even embodied shaping, meaning how you carry your body, your posture, the way you move through the world, that was taught to us by these contexts. It's like you had to be this way, do this way, show up this way in order to get ahead, in order to get acknowledged, in order to belong or be included. And so we've taken on these ways of being, but the truth is they're not actually working, and they need to get untangled in order for us to lead as our brightest, our truest, our realest, and our most inspiring selves. And in order for us to really be seen as an executive level leader with a kind of presence that somebody would not just want to follow, but also want to put in charge of an organization or to promote. Or if we're already executive level leaders, it's like maybe we want to play a bigger game, but some of this stuff is still working in us and actually holding us back. So, for example, we'll often hear this, it's like stop apologizing, right? It's like there's examples out there. I think there are kind of things that we'll say to each other as women in leadership, or we'll get these kind of little tidbits of what we should do to try to be more powerful in the workplace. And if I say stop apologizing, that's great, right? But apology lives in many things. It lives in the way we think. It's like, what was the thought that preceded apologizing? It lives in how our physical shape actually happens. What does an apology look like? I'll give an example with my body, right? It might look different for you, right? Versus I'm in my full power. It lives in the way we move through the world, how we think, not just what we say. And so that's sort of an example of, we might call internalized patriarchy or embodied patriarchy, or embodied something that's holding us back, if you do or don't relate to the word patriarchy. But also it's like the answer isn't just to do the opposite. So I could suddenly become an unforgiving hard ass. I could just push back. I could never apologize. I could be really rigid and really strong and really clear about my stand about things. And how do you think that's going to go? Because what that is actually is just the opposite side of the coin of the same embodied patriarchy. I'm doing it. I'm kind of like, in a way falling victim to it, or I'm letting it shape me in this kind of collapsed way, or I'm pushing against it. I'm fighting against it. And frankly, that's not actually any better. And so we're in this paradigm where we're not quite sure how to do or be something different, because all we know is if that's not working, let me try the opposite. But that doesn't get us out of the tangle of what I would call embodied patriarchy. So the work really is to dismantle or disentangle this so that the actions we're taking are actually really our own, are not in any way influenced by that, but are coming through loud and clear, not as a reaction, but as the right move for the moment based on who we really are, what our values are, and how we actually want to lead and the kind of impact we want to make. So this idea of dismantling the patriarchy within is what Guts and Grace is all about. And it's what we're going to explore over the course of our next 5 days together. Like, what is the path that one might take to become what I call a full-bodied leader? Or we might say a fully embodied leader, full-bodied kind of being for short. So it's like, how do I go from where I am? Maybe I'm just kind of, this is my reality, or maybe I'm somewhere along the path to becoming more fully embodied. How do we actually go through? What's the process that we would go through to get there? And what are some of the steps along the way and the practices we can be in along the way to be able to do that? So this is our setup for today and for the rest of the week. And since we just mentioned that our bodies have to play a big role in this, I want to invite us all to pause for a moment, especially me, since I'm speaking, to take a deeper breath and really to feel our bodies. So wherever you are, if you are not driving, feel free to close your eyes. If you are, please keep them open, but you can still do this practice. Bring your attention, bring your awareness to the sensations in your body right now, and notice one thing. Maybe you notice that you're holding your breath, or that your thighs are tight, or that your jaw is clenched, or that you're leaning forward or back. None of that is wrong, but it's good to know. Maybe it's how you want to be right now, maybe it's not. If you feel like adjusting something, go ahead. Good, and then from this place of full-bodied, or at least part-bodied awareness, I want to affirm for us as we start our deeper learning today that we are in exactly the right time and the right place at this moment to do the learning that will support us on each of our paths, whatever part of the journey we're on today. That the teaching here in some way will go in as it needs to, that you'll get exactly the nugget that you most need at this moment. Of course, you can always come back for more. And that your time is precious and valuable, and that you're giving a gift to yourself by taking the time and being here today. And see if you can just let that in, feel the truth in that if it feels true to you, or let in what does. If not, you can let it go. Good, take another deep breath. As you exhale, let your muscles rest a little more on your bones, let your butt rest a little more solidly in the chair. And if there's anything you want to adjust to be a porous and available listener and taker in of what is available here today, go ahead and do that. We'll do a little more of that before we close. So I want to presence that. This is scheduled as a half an hour teaching. We'll do our best to get in everything I want to share in that time. And it may run a little longer today just since we did some of the setup. And it's the first time we're doing this. But what I want to do is dive into now our day one topic. And when I thought about how I wanted to run this series, just to give you a sense of the roadmap, each day is going to look at a different phase or a different part of the path along the journey from where one might start, which we could call entangled success or old paradigm success, to what we might call full-bodied leadership. And so day one today, we're really going to talk about this idea of entangled success. We could also call this old paradigm success. And really, this is the stage in your leadership where you've kind of hit the ceiling or maybe hit a plateau, or you're just in the soup of the what got you here will not get you there. How do I know that I got there? Many things, but it might be that either I've gotten promoted and I'm kind of out of my league and I'm starting to burn out, or I'm not getting promoted or I'm not quite having the impact that I want. And I can see that something about how I've been doing things isn't necessarily going to get me to the next place. This can really be a part of the journey where things are pretty good, or at least they look pretty good on paper. I'm fine, I'm good. Maybe I'm making good money. Maybe I'm not, but maybe I'm making good money. Maybe I'm pretty highly respected. Maybe if somebody else looked at my job, they'd be like, that's pretty awesome. I'm glad you got there. You know, what do you have to complain about? But inside, something doesn't feel quite right. And sometimes there are also symptoms on the outside, but for sure, there's like a little bit of an inner sense of, okay, maybe this isn't everything. Maybe this isn't enough. Maybe it's not sustainable, something like that. It's like, I'm really there. Things are clicking-ish, but maybe not totally. Some of the hallmarks of this stage are time scarcity. For example, there's more to do in a day than I can actually do. I feel tight around time. I have to rush through things to get things done. In a way, this may not change, right? Like as no matter what stage we're in, we might not get less busy, quote unquote, or there might not be less on our calendar, but there's a sense of feeling overwhelmed by it. Can I really handle it? How am I going to manage in the context of this? And certainly, like if I wanted to do more, there would be a real problem because I don't have anything more to give because my time is so tight and my time is so scarce. What's interesting about time scarcity and the rush that can go with that, the pacing that can go with that, is that this really is both, I would say, like also a hallmark of white supremacy and a hallmark of the patriarchy. that there's something about the way these things live inside of us and we live inside of them that creates this kind of crush and rush around time. And we'll feel that in our bodies, in our senses, in our souls, and certainly we'll see that, or we'll perceive that in our calendars when we're in this particular phase, when we're in this mode. Another hallmark of entangled success is that there are these trade-offs happening in our lives and in our work. And they're not small trade-offs. They're like things that really matter. So I'm trading off my dignity for my belonging in my workplace, for example, or I'm trading off how much I care about my family and my kids with the next, the thing that's going to have to happen next from the perspective of my work. In fact, I'm curious for you all, if you're here and you're still on chat and you want to chat things, what are some of the trade-offs that you would say you're living in? Like, here's two things that I feel kind of stuck between and can't solve for both. Or maybe if you're not kind of in this mode anymore, what was true for you in the past? So feel free to put something in the chat if you would like to. I'll just give a couple more examples. So, it's like, I can't have lunch because I need to take another meeting, for example. So even just trading off things like my health, my well-being, being able to feed myself, or something around like mental health can really come up here, right? There's like a trade-off in terms of I might have to give more or do more or be something that isn't really serving me or isn't true for me. And there's kind of a cost of identity in that actually, I feel like I have to maintain to be able to maintain this success or to not drop the ball on what I've created. Another big, let's say, hallmark of the entangled success part of the journey is that we might find that we are stuck in what we could call a zone of excellence and either avoiding or unaware of our zone of genius. So these terms come from Gay Hendricks' work, the book, The Big Leap. They're used a lot in the coaching industry now. And, in a way, like the zone of excellence sounds pretty good. But what it means is that there's something I'm really good at that's not the highest and best use of me, but I get accolades for, I get paid well for, I get asked to do again and again and again because I'm so good at it that people are really benefiting from me continuing to do it. And yet there's something more to unlock that we could call a zone of genius or an even better highest, best, and use of us that isn't getting any airtime because we're spending so much time doing this other thing, right? This is the zone of excellence versus the zone of genius. So often in this entangled success, we are in a role or in a situation or in a series of promises maybe or commitments that keep us stuck in that context. Yeah. So these are some examples of what are the hallmarks of this stage. And if you kind of put yourself inside of that, often one of the symptoms is like, it's pretty exhausting. Like, this is working, but will I be able to maintain it? Is it going to last? Is it something that's sustainable? Is it something that I want to maintain? Should I maintain it, for example? I'm just noticing our chat here. Thank you for naming some of the trade-offs. So pleasure on pause. I'm not sure I totally get that, Phyllis, but something about, trading off pleasure for something else that's required of you, it sounds like. I see I can't have kids unless I live in a larger home. That's real, huh? Like, okay, I need more space and I have to work harder to create the income for that more space and and so on and so forth. And then at the same time, maybe I wouldn't have time to have kids or it wouldn't be good for my body to work harder. I'm making up and extrapolating a little bit here, Best Blue Bubble says. And then Karen says, I have to hold it all or it will fall apart. So I have to be strong. I have to hold it all. If I don't hold everything, if I'm not the one doing it, for example, then it's going to collapse. So there's a trade-off between maybe my sovereignty or my health and well-being. I could extrapolate from there. And the maintenance of the success that seems to be happening. Great. Thank you all for sharing. So in this stage, we're succeeding by, what does it look like, right? Well, it looks like different things. All of us have different ways of contending with the pressure that's on us and kind of dancing inside of or dancing with the internalized versions of the patriarchy or the systems that we're swimming. But it can look like things like this. It can look like I succeed by controlling. I succeed by holding it all together and holding it all up, to the point of Karen's share here. I succeed by never, I'm going to kind of take a riff on what Phyllis shared, but like I succeed by never letting myself feel good or have time for pleasure. I succeed by letting everything that I really care about go. I succeed by hiding. I succeed by not making waves. I succeed by being really good friends with the person in charge, even if it costs me something in terms of my life force, my dignity, make things up. I succeed by working harder than I can actually sustain. So if you're here and you can relate to any of that, put something in the chat. I succeed by ... What's the kind of not so healthy, not so helpful, old paradigm success or entangled success version of how you have gotten by in the past, or maybe getting by now, if you'd like to share. So while you're doing that, I'm going to continue with a couple of thoughts here. In some ways, this is working. In some ways, it's not working. And if we're going to change something about it, I think it's important to be clear, like, why is it a problem? Is it a problem? Why is it a problem? And what are the costs? And mostly what I've found is that when clients come to me in this stage, it's like, it's working, it's not working. And I'm not sure if I'm ready to change because I know the change will be harder. I'll have to let go of something. So I'm still here, especially if the change might include changing a job or doing some kind of a big boundary setting or personal advocacy or something that's just not easy to do. So partly why is it a problem? And this, I think folks that I work with will often come to me aware of this part, right? It's like, it's a problem because it's costing me something in terms of my health, my well-being, my just like kind of mental health and my sanity. Like, it's putting a strain on that in such a way that intuitively I know, and I've been trained to know, isn't going to work in the long term. So I'll give you an example of this in my particular case. When I started the job that I shared at the beginning, I was actually in an office where people didn't take lunch. We worked from like 7:30 or 8 a.m. in the morning, sometimes until 6 or 7 p.m. at night straight, often with no breaks, clients back to back to back. And that was just the culture there. And I had come from graduate school. I'd come from a context where I had more flexibility, more time. I was a little younger than other people in the group. I wasn't already inoculated into corporate culture or the culture of the organization. And I was like, this is crazy. Why? Like, I need to go move my body. I need to dance. I need to eat. I need to exercise. I need to do these things. And what I saw and what I thought was, but that's not allowed here. We can't do that here. That's not possible inside of this context. In my particular case, I think I was young enough and bold enough to challenge something about that and got to see the way that my challenge and my request for some time to do something to take care of myself actually unlocked something in the system, which we can talk more about on day 3 and 4. But just to say, it's like there's at least a perception of it can't be changed, and then there's costs to our health and well-being. Another kind of cost that often happens in this phase is that there are relationship costs. And there's a lot to that, more than I can share here in this particular live, but just to say, if you think about when you were in this phase, or if you are in some way still in this phase, that there might have been breakdowns in one's intimate relationships. There could be breakdowns with one's kids, and maybe relationship breakdowns back at work or with friendships that are going lost, this kind of a thing, yeah. And I think some of you may be here or are on our mailing list and read some of the blogs that I sent out over the last couple weeks about both the loss of my dog and also my wedding proposal engagement. And I can say, in some ways, the capacity or the strength that I've cultivated to be present for those experiences had a lot to do with getting out of this paradigm and learning a different way of operating, because relationships and presence for intimacy, presence for kind of real life in the moment experiences with others, whether that be my partner, my dog, or someone else, just really weren't something I was very good at. Like, they really were the place where I would create a lot of breakdowns unconsciously, and in some cases consciously and sort of on purpose, because entangled success, it prevents us from being able to be in relationships, be present with things in the way that we want to. So I'm going to pause here. We do have a chat going on. Once again, like I said, we'll probably go a little longer than 12:30 today. I'll try to keep us as concise as we can, but I just want to see, because folks have put some things in the chat. I succeed by. So we have, I succeed by taking over work others could do, but that may not be the best use of my time. Best, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely. It's a really good example of both. Like, I succeed by working harder and harder, maybe harder than is good for me or than I need to, but also of like the zone of genius, zone of excellence trade-off, right? So sometimes we're doing work that isn't really the best use of ourselves. Sora says, I succeed by pushing hard. I know you a little bit, Sora, so I know that has a lot to do with like pushing things through or kind of pushing like being in a bit more of a tussle or a fight, like insisting this kind of a push. Maybe also overwork, you could read that into that as well. But right, it's like if I push harder, then hopefully people will listen or I'll get there. So thank you all for sharing those. And if you're watching later or listening at home, it's like, take a minute, jot down your own answers, because all of this is intellectual till we really see ourselves or locate ourselves inside of it. Okay, I want to say 2 more things about costs. One is that another reason why it's hard to get out of this phase is because this particular phase, especially when we're doing well, like when it's working more or less but not working, can really be a stage that is a golden handcuffs kind of stage. What do I mean by that? You're being paid really well for doing all of that. And if you decide to change your job, your role, act differently, take a different action, take a stand, you might lose your job, you might lose your income, you might lose, at least it seems, the money that you've been making that has you want to stay in that, right? It's like, it's not good, but there's a kind of handcuff in that I don't want to risk losing this thing. Another version of that is you're being rewarded, maybe not even just financially. Here's an example. So I have a client who, when we started working together, her boss sanctioned her to work with an executive coach and was like, she needs to work on A, B, and C. We're worried she's going to burn herself out. She needs to let go of things, delegate, do these things. And then the first time I had a conversation with her boss, he was like, oh, but the organization needs her to blah, blah, blah. And she said to me the first couple sessions, but my boss said I have to A, B, and C. So it was like the directions he was getting and what he was rewarding her for were exactly the opposite of what he wanted her to work on that would help her not burn out and really lead in a different way. And he wasn't even aware of it. I mean, it was like, it can be so subtle, the ways that we get rewarded for, or that people are in kind of a codependent relationship with us around the things that aren't working to help us get to our next level. Like he really did want her both to not burn out and to take to kind of get promoted to the next level. And yet it was like at every turn, the requests that he made and the things he rewarded and didn't reward were exactly in counter to that. So this can be really challenging. Including, and even if you're working with a coach, there's this like thing to work out with the people who are supporting you, rewarding you, mentoring you, to also change the paradigm with them. And then another kind of aspect of the golden handcuffs can be that there's some part of your ego, meaning there's some part of your internally built safety structures, the part that's designed to kind of keep you safe, that's also working to keep you in the box. So it's like, I want to get free of this. I want to get out of this. But actually, getting free might be really terrifying or scary, or what if something goes wrong? And so there's parts of your own psyche and your own behavior that are kind of working against you. So that's why it can be hard. That being said, it's often required to get through this stage to actually connect with a few even deeper costs. So it's like, okay, I know that my health is kind of messed up and that my relationship's going down the tubes a little bit, or like there's some tension there, but I'm still kind of hanging in there. And one of the things that I found, although it doesn't seem nearly as important as one's health or relationships, is that knowing that this strategy isn't going to get me to the next place can start to become the leverage that we need to really decide at some point that we're ready to drop it or to let it go and go somewhere else. So here's what I mean by that. When I talk about breaking the glass ceiling, I say we have like a glass ceiling game that we play. And it's like we keep trying to get ahead, doing the same old strategy because it got us to here. We hear this, right? What got you here won't get you there. We double down on the same strategies. We keep working harder. We keep doing the same thing. And at some point there starts to be diminishing returns, or you start to get pigeonholed and put in the same box and asked to do the same thing. So what this looks like in the workplace is that if you are a woman who is good at doing something, zone of excellence, kind of good, and you're doubling down on it, getting better at it, getting rewarded for it, it starts to become exactly the reason you're not getting to the next level, meaning it literally stops working. Not only does it stop working, but it starts working against you at some point, because literally nobody wants to promote you to the next level because they cannot afford to live without you doing the thing that is not working for you anymore. They cannot afford to let go of how well you've done for them, or let go of the benefits of your zone of excellence, or let go of the benefits of your overgiving, or they don't think they can, right? That they're not like subconsciously, sometimes consciously, this happens in conversations in the boardroom, but often it's like, oh, well, we just don't really see why she's just not quite senior leadership material, i.e. she's doing all this shit for us that we can't have her not do. Apologies. I hope it's okay if I do that online. I don't always do lives. Anyways, we just can't let her go for what she's doing. And so therefore we can't give her the next level role, even if your build is even better at the next level and you could bring something even more profound to the organization. It's really hard to let go of something that feels like it's working. So this is one of the, let's say, deeper costs, or just different kind of costs in addition to your health, in addition to your relationships, that's really worth considering as you think about, do I want to get out of this paradigm and find my way into something else? And last but not least, well, there's two. One last but not least is, if you are a mother, your kids are watching everything that you do. This is another reason why my clients will go, it's time to change. I started to see my daughter, my son, do this thing that I do, and I realized they're learning it from me, even though it's not what I'm saying to do. So that's one. And the other is your purpose, your original build, your true design, who you really are meant to be and how you're really meant to be contributing, is also designed, even though your ego is designed to keep you safe and small, this other part of you is also designed to not let you off the hook. So it will throw you into some kind of initiation if you wait too long. And that can sometimes hurt. What does that mean? What does that look like? I burn out. I'm in an accident. I find myself in some kind of an addiction. Suddenly I'm getting divorced. I saw it coming, but all of a sudden it's right in front of me. I have a health breakdown. If you live in the Bay Area like I do, you have some kind of unexpected, unraveling psychedelic experience where a cool epiphany means you have to change everything about your life tomorrow all at once. So it's not always terrible things, but sometimes it's very dramatic, and it's not it's not a smooth turn. It's like, the car sort of breaks down and suddenly you have to like get on a different road or get a mechanic and fix it. So I'm not going to say this is coming if you haven't had this experience yet. Some of you I know who are here have had this experience, and it's why we've been working together, or why you've started some kind of path for yourself. I often meet people on the other side of this kind of moment. What I know and what I've seen over 17 years of working with hundreds of women in leadership is that these moments come, and they can blindside us if we're not tracking or we're not paying attention to the fact that something gave us signs earlier on that something needed to change. So know that matters, and know that that's part of this game, is like, oh, wow, can I decide or choose into something different? Okay. I'm conscious of our time. I want to do two things before we complete, and we'll do them in a bit of a shorter way, but I'll give you an opportunity to get access. So I want to do a very short centering practice, a short physical practice to work with spaciousness. And what I want to invite is that really kind of like dedicating this physical practice, this embodied practice, to the possibility that you might, through your own body, challenge the scarcity of time and space. Can I be in such a way in my own body? That's what we'll do here for a moment. That is different than my experience, how I think, move, and feel when time is scarce and there's not enough opening to make space for what I really need, who I really am, what I really want. So let's take a moment together, if you're able to stick around. If not, you can come back and check out the recording on the lives later. Take a deeper breath, feel your butt on the chair. If you want, again, you can close your eyes. And just briefly, we won't stay here too long, let yourself transport yourself to a moment where there wasn't enough time, where you felt maybe tight or scarce or overwhelmed, where your actual concrete time experience or the anxiety that you had was like, I can't get it all done. And as you do that, let your body do what it does and just notice. Good. I notice, for example, I'm getting more narrow and tight. My thighs are tightening. My breath is getting less deep. My throat is getting a little tighter. I'm pulling in. Yours might be very different. We all do very different things in these moments to resist or to react. Just let your body show you what it does. Under time pressure. I gotta go faster. I might lean a little forward. We're not gonna get there. I got to get to the next thing. This might be actually true for you in this moment if you're with us live. Just feel it. So this is your body responding to what you perceive about what's happening around you. May or may not be exactly what's happening, but it's certainly what you perceive, and it's certainly your body's reaction. What's always true, even if you can't change anything about you, is that there's room to change your experience inside, which can sometimes shift things around you or just help create some space. And we're going to do a short version of that now. So without changing what you're thinking about, right? It's like, let's imagine that pressure is still there, but you first relax something in your body that's tight, and second, take a deeper breath. I'm letting out my thighs. I'm breathing in. My shoulders are coming down. That's me. That may not be you. And as you do this, imagine more spaciousness on the inside. So literally feel a space that gets created when you breathe in and your ribs go out. There's some space inside of me here right now. If you want, you can feel, sense, or imagine your own, almost like the energy body or your aura, if you're into that kind of thing, but like letting yourself get a little wider energetically, like, oh, I can take up a little more space. And you might even imagine that your spaciousness, like your extending, opening out, kind of pushes away the things that are falling in or creeping in on you. Maybe it's like a bit of a barrier or a boundary or a bubble that holds things a little bit at bay. So at least there's enough space for you to move, for you to feel, for you to be, for you to breathe. So you could imagine that. If it's helpful to see a bubble that's holding things at bay or creating some space, you can do that. Or you might just be more kinesthetic like me and just feel your body getting wider, your energy getting wider. And then inside of that, relax something else. Can you let your, again, muscles rest a little more in your bones? Maybe your jaw unlocks, your spine gets a little longer. And then let yourself become aware, maybe you've already forgotten, that these pressures we're imagining are still there, but you're being different inside of them. And just take a deeper breath and see what it's like to be with them. They're out there, you're in here, and you have a little more space. And if you were going to take a next step or move into something, right, I'm going to take a step forward or take a next action, how might it be different? What's your sense? I feel and sense that I would probably move slower, and I'd be less picked up and more settled. Good. So take another minute, just feel this. If there's anything else you want to anchor or integrate, or sometimes I'll say take a body snapshot of, go ahead and do that. Another deep breath. Feel your ribs expand. Another exhale. And if your eyes are closed, you can slowly bring them back and just see if on purpose you can choose to let whatever that was kind of stay that way. Like if I got a little more space, don't turn your attention back here and let it all go. See if you can intend that it stays with you for at least maybe the next 10 minutes, 15, or the rest of the day if you would like. So this doesn't change everything. It may not change anything in the concrete, but it starts to give you a little more space to open to possibility and to feel yourself. And the disruption of the entangled success phase is very much in the body and in the mind about disbelieving things have to be this way, and opening to the possibility in the body and in the mind that there could be more. There could be something different, that something that doesn't feel changeable might be more malleable than I think. And so time is a really good place to start. When I did this work very early on, I remember I started practicing doing something like this while driving on the freeway. And what was crazy was that I often used to run late at that time. I still sometimes do. I found that I would get there at the same time or even more quickly, settled, centered, and open as I would when I was armored and tight and pushing and leaning forward. And I'm like, well, wow, okay. One of those is way easier on my body, creates a lot more space for me. I have a more positive experience. I have more ideas when I'm driving that way. It opens new possibilities and I feel better. So there was like a disruption that started to happen. Like I don't have to be this way to make it happen. And that was a key that unlocked some things. So I want to invite you, if you are here, if this resonates, to practice just this for the next 24 hours and or the next rest of your life, if it speaks to you. And see if through your own doorway of your own embodiment, you can start to create a little disruption in the story or truth that there's not enough space and time as part of a practice around stepping out of or untangling your entangled success. I'll offer you 2 more practices. They're both also very simple. 1, try walking more slowly. Anywhere and everywhere you go, or pick one place you often go and choose for the next couple of days or a week that you're going to slow down your pace in getting there as you walk there. Notice what happens in you and what happens around you. And third, if you would like, if this speaks to you, to literally block 1 hour in your calendar a week, or this week at least, for something that really brings you back into connection with you. So I don't care if that's a workout that you don't have time for. I don't care if it's some journaling that you don't usually make space for, if it's just sitting in front of your fireplace with a cup of cocoa and feeling your body and loving what you love. Just something that defies the gravity of the truth that there's not room for you or for this. Because what will happen is something new will start to come through. You'll start to get a glimpse of what could be on the other side of what we might call entangled success. Okay, that is more than enough for today. Thanks for hanging with me if you are still here. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the next stage on the journey to full-bodied leadership, which I call entering initiation. Entering initiation. So it's the stage where things start to get disrupted. If you'd like to know about that, or you find yourself in that right now, please come back tomorrow. We'll do another 30-minute teaching. And a couple of things in the meantime I want to offer. One is that if you are new to Guts and Grace and you would like to sign up for our mailing list or get info from us over time, you can get a free meditation, a little like the one we did today, at gutsandgrace.com/sign up. This link might not be fully live, so I'll make sure that we put another one in the replay chat as well. We're rebranding and moving some things around, but hopefully you should be able to find us here if you're not already on our mailing list. If this speaks to you, you are in entangled success and you would really like to have a different experience, you are also more than welcome to book a discovery call. So this would be an opportunity to have a conversation with myself or another coach from Guts and Grace. Some of you know our main program is called Guts and Grace. It's a year-long coaching and mastermind program. It's a place where, again, they're really courses that are designed for professional women to have some kind of a spiritual or kind of opening and activation in their pathway towards more senior level leadership. It's really for women who are in corporate, government, nonprofit, even organizing spaces, who are interested in leading change without burning out and want to learn how to untangle themselves from the old paradigm so that they can do that well. So please feel free to book a call if you'd like to talk to us. Guts and Grace is open right now. We have a current cohort running. We also have a 10-week program called Activate, which begins April 5th. And for those of you who might just want to taste to get a little bit of activation and learn some of these tools on a deeper level, you can find us at this link here, gutsandgrace.com/activate course, to go a little deeper with us starting in April. These are how we can be in touch. Beyond that, what I'd like to do really is affirm that the time that we spent here together today was the absolute best use of your time in terms of the learning you needed right now. And that what you may have picked up here or what we got to share together can and will pay big dividends if and as you practice it in the long run. I want to affirm that we're always on time, in the right time, and that the things that we need are coming into our lives at exactly the right moment, and that everything is working for us and for you, no matter how unusual, challenging, or surprising it may be at face value. I thank you for hanging out here with me today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow to talk about entering initiation.